Hello, my name is Henry, and I'll be your host for the November Variety Hour. Our regulars may be thinking that I look slightly different to our usual host, and that's because Alex, who's been Variety Hour's amazing host for the last year, has now sadly moved on from the Wild Labs team onto other adventures. But we wish her the best, and she has promised to keep coming to Variety Hour in the future. So don't worry, it's not the last time you'll see her. She will be back. So we've got some fantastic talks lined up for you today. And of course, we have our famous ad break and quiz as well to look forward to, which is themed based on one of the talks today. So that's very exciting. First, we'll be hearing from Laura about the Embassy of Reindeers, which is a participatory project. Then our second speed talk will be from Andy Cook, all about his work with hedgehogs. And our third speed talk will be from Sarah Radford, telling us about a copy in the wild. And then after our ad break, we'll finally be hearing from Ștefan, who will tell us all about building SpeciesNet. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Laura to kick things off. Please, Laura, share your screen and go ahead.
Hello, I'm really happy to be with you. So I'm Laura, I'm not an ecologist, I'm not a technologist, I'm a designer. This is the big disclaimer. And I'm a participatory designer and I always work with people. This project I'm commenting today, it's a project that it has started last year in 2024. And it's called the Embassy of Reindeers. And in this project, I'm not alone. I have a technologist with me who is Carsten Tenmin from Germany. This project is about an experiment between humans, reindeers, and especially herders that have these reindeers herds in Finland to map forest, how pasture is degrading, and also how snow change is degrading. It is based on a camera collar, so there is a technology, but based on this technology, then there is a whole service that I'm building. The camera collar is getting the reindeer's point of view about the pasture conditions due to the land use and also to the snow change. And we are getting this through the camera that is embedded in these new collars that I'm prototyping in these days. So the reindeer is wearing the new collar. The pictures are meant to feed a cloud, and then the herders, the own herder of that specific reindeers, is the only one allowed to get the pictures and comment the pictures. When the herder has commented the picture, he can publish it on a GIS platform, which will be online and which will be available as well to the civil society, as well to the local policymakers. And this is because the aim of this service is to be a tool for the policymakers. So the platform is meant to be this tool that informs policymakers to inspire new form of governance and also to steer the local politics about how to use the land and also how to rule the herding politics in Finland. But not only the municipality can access the pictures, the idea is that also this local knowledge gets to scientists. So the scientific community can subscribe to the GIS platform and can get very specific feedback and pictures from the herds. In this way, the idea is that we could also co-produce knowledge that is based on science and also local ecological knowledge. This is the first pictures of the prototype, and this is from April 2025, so last spring. And here you can see the first prototype of the collar. It is like a cylindrical shape, and this experiment was just meant to decide which kind of lens we would use. You can see that the other picture on the side is showing a picture of the ground, so of the pasture where the reindeer is eating. And in this case, you will see like the fish lens eye. This is the lens that we decided to use together with the herders to collect the picture. So the next... This is the experiments we made. So I was with the reindeers. And at that moment, I was trying to understand which kind of lens was best to use. After this experiment, we decided, of course, which kind of lens we would use, but also we got feedback about how the shape of the collar would be, because we got a lot of fur picture in the picture. So we decided for other kind of shape of the collars. One is a pyramid one because it gets the camera far away from the neck and from the fur. And the other shape is like a bell shape because the herders suggested to have like a similar shape of the bells that they used to use because it's very good in order not to get snow attached to the collar. So I came back to Finland with new prototypes and my collaborating herders, I have 3 herders collaborating with me. They had their own reindeer wearing the collar. This is one reindeer with the pyramid collar. And here, the other reindeer with the bell-shaped collar. And this is what's happening nowadays. This is a video from like 2 days ago. The herd
Yes,
is
it's
like
moving
free grazing.
very little movement, like when
And this
we
is the herder
take
that is getting me feedback. He's
with
sending me
Alpi,
feedback.
the
Because
collar
now the bell
basically
shape stopped shaking and
move
it's a
lot,
problem.
and now it's
But we will fix it next time.
not moving like that.
So thank you. And there is a website for this project. You can scan the QR code that you can get to the website. And you can also get in touch with me through emails. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was fantastic. Really great videos as well. Does anyone have any questions for Laura? Frank has asked, how long does the battery last?
We will see. We don't know yet. Because it depends on the temperature. And the engineer that Carsten, who is working with me, doesn't really have a clue of that. It's the first time we work with Arctic temperature. It's even the first time that we work on animal technology. So we will see. Now it's like 1 month that this collar has been going on. And when we'll collect the collars, we'll see how long it lasted.
Fantastic. I have one very quick question from me as well, and then there's a few more questions in the chat which you can go and answer as well. A very quick question. So I think reindeers, their size is going to change quite a lot, throughout the year, depending on the seasons. So does the collar kind of expand easily? Is it easy to adjust?
Yes. So for this, it was like a key doing fieldwork, ethnographic fieldwork with the herders, because they taught me all the different models of collars they use. So in case of male reindeers, they get really big. So they use to put elastic bands. They cut the normal collar. They put elastic bands so that then they assemble together, and so that collar can stretch. So we also have that kind of model, and I learned from them. So that's the way. But for this experiment, to make it a little bit easier, they choose female reindeer, so they will not get the problem of the neck. They don't grow so much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Laura. As I said, there's a couple more questions for you in the chat, so please do hop over there and you can answer them. So up next, I think we have Andy. Andy, are you? Yes, I can see you with your camera on. Thank you for joining.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? So you'd be pleased to know I have one single slide, and that's this slide, and the rest is me talking. I'd like to say that was all it was going to be. It was going to be spectacular, but I also work full-time. So here we go. So I'm Andy Cook. I'm a volunteer and trustee of Prickly Pigs Hedgehog Rescue, and Project Hedge is the output of our desire to track what happens to hedgehogs afterwards. So we're a small rescue with a big problem. Once a hedgehog leaves our care, we have almost no idea what happens next. Do they survive? Where did they go? Are they surviving, thriving, or struggling? So we created Project Hedge, hedgehog electronic data gathering and evaluation. Really just a fancy way of saying, let's build a reliable way to follow hedgehogs without disturbing them. We're very lucky that the BHPS funded a large portion of this scheme. I'd like to thank them for that at this moment. So I challenge across the UK, rescues, researchers and community groups all face the same barrier. Building a technology to study wildlife is expensive, time-consuming, and often requires skills that many groups simply just don't have access to. And hedgehog monitoring is especially tricky because the whole point is to do it passively for months at a time and ideally without having anybody up at 2 a.m. checking batteries and fixing products that are out in the field. We wanted a solution that was affordable, repairable, and simple enough that any rescue in the country could use it. We started working with University of Leeds 4 years ago, and it became very clear that the time periods that students had to do their research was very short, and they didn't have the time to develop a product and do the research, and often we found the products failed, and we ended up with very poor research. So we set off building our own hardware using off-the-shelf parts, 3D printed and laser cut parts, and lots of Yorkshire stubbornness to develop a product that would reliably do what we needed it. Each project head unit reads the hedgehog microchips automatically, because the date and the time that the hedgehog's been recorded, and it logs unchipped visitors via an onboard camera. It stores the data locally, uploads only when needed to save power. Most importantly, it's designed so it doesn't need an engineer or university lab to fix it. If parts fail, you swap it. If slugs eat your circuit board, yes, it happened, or shorted it out, then you can fix it just by swapping it out and you keep on going. We're now roughly our 14th major design revision and finally reaching the point where we can deploy a whole network instead of just prototypes. Our single long-term test station that we deployed ran for 12 months, and we kept reiterating the revisions to that. Just from that one unit, we recorded 2,500 hedgehog visits from 26 different hedgehogs. We've been microchipping hedgehogs and releasing them for 5 years. So we have a good pool of over 300 or 400 hedgehogs out in the wild that might trigger the unit, all without any human sitting outside with a clipboard. We've even picked up behavioural patterns, short feeding stops, long lingering visits, seasonal changes, and the occasional cat photo bomb. And what we've done is we've proven that the technology worked. What we didn't want to do was deploy a product that we had to continually go back to update and improve. So the Vision Project Hedge is a really good gadget. It's not just a gadget, it's a platform. It's a foundation for long-term hedgehog monitoring across the UK. Our goal is to create a national network of low maintenance monitoring stations, a shared databases that researchers can plug into, and a public GIS interface so communities can see real hedgehog activity. A system that rescues can host in gardens, parks, campuses in any way. We want researchers to focus on questions, not wiring diagrams, and rescues to focus on hedgehogs, not learning electronics. What we need our help with going forward is we're at a stage where we're looking for people to help with the GIS technology for the public interface, advice on citizen scientists to help with analysing the data, the photo data, and potentially open source AI developers who can help us explore lightweight models that can identify behaviour movement. And anybody building small mammal tech that this could be adapted to. Any questions?
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andy. Yeah, Frank's got a question in the chat. He's asking if it can be used for other animals as well, please.
Anything that can take a microchip RFID PID tag, this will work with. It has a reading range between 15 centimetres to 20 centimetres. And that's one of the largest problems, was finding a RFID reader that was that powerful.
Brilliant, thank you. And I guess one more, maybe more of a comment from me is thank you so much for doing your call to action and saying what you needed. I just wanted to check, have you posted about this on the open source group on WILDLABS already?
No, not as yet. This is my introduction to it.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, please do post, what you're looking for, this, support that you might need and any sort of guidance. And please post that on the open source group, in particular on WILDLABS. And just more generally explore that group as well to see if there's any other resource or information that could be helpful for you. I've seen another comment from Lindsay that has popped up in the chat. So I think, Andy, if you could just unshare your screen, then please go ahead and answer that comment in the chat. And thank you so much. So I think we can now move on to our third and final speed talk from Sarah. So please, Sarah, go ahead and share your screen.
So our insect camera trap is part of our EcoPie system, that's what they're called, and it was developed as part of a federal government-funded project. So I'd like to thank our partners in this project. So the development story, we actually came to develop insect camera traps because of bats, which might sound a bit weird. But one hypothesis of why bats occur at wind turbines is that they hunt insects that are present there. And this relationship hasn't been yet intensively researched. So our research within the project Nat for Vincent focuses on expanding the current knowledge on insects in and around wind turbines to help improve mitigation measures for bats. So the picture you can see is the Nat for Vincent. It's a wind test, an onshore wind test site. And lots of technical parameters are being measured there for research on wind turbines. And since 2019, research for nature conservation is also taking place there. So birds, bats, and insects are being measured to gain valuable data for better mitigation on wind-sensitive species. So that's where we came into the game with our insect camera traps. Because traditional light trapping methods are simply not feasible at 95 meters up a measuring mast. So the red and white masts that you can see in the picture, at the very top, they're 95 meters high, and obviously you can't do a normal technique there. So we had to develop something different. So this is just like to give you guys a rough overview of some of the steps in our insect camera trap development. So on the very far left, we've got our first prototype. In the middle is here's a picture from 2021, I think, of our recorders then. And at the top right, just an example of one of our initial, like the photos that the devices take themselves. So to start with, we had UV light set into an acrylic plate, which was attracting then phototactic insects. So those are insects that are attracted to light during nighttime hours. And we were using near-infrared lights, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard of them, the Raspberry Pi Noir cameras, and they were taking black and white pictures at night. And since then, there have been several advancements in our insect camera traps. Much testing and tweaking has taken place over the years. So further down here, you can see pictures of our tests in the dark in our local forest, just to see what sort of insects we're attracting and to play with the timings a bit. At the bottom, second to the right, is a picture of our insect camera trap version from last year. And the very far right is the current version. So today we have a fully automated insect camera trap, which is able to record insects both during the day and at night. And it's installed in Nat for Vincent at heights of up to 95 meters. In this project, we have electricity and we have internet on the site, unlike in our other projects. And these devices can send us the recorded images each hour. And we have a pipeline with a self-trained YOLO model for automatically detecting insects in the images. And I'm very happy about this last development, because previously I was the AI and I had to click through lots and lots of pictures of insects. So here, just to give you an overview of like the main components of an insect camera trap. All of our devices are based around a Raspberry Pi. This is the single board computer here, and that's in the main box controlling everything. The main box has this bright yellow surface, which attracts insects during the day, and it reflects UV light at night when it's lit up with a UV LED. And the little box here on the bracket opposite the main box, there's a camera taking pictures of this area. There's the UV LED, which is lighting it up at night. And we also have some white LEDs just to make sure that there's enough light for taking pictures during the day on particularly cloudy days. As I mentioned, the devices have an internet connection, meaning that we can also make changes to their software and to the image capturing program at any time. Here are just some examples of insects that we've recorded. So they're quite diverse. And this picture in the top right-hand side is just an example of the output of our insect detection model. So it's currently just detecting, it's a single classifier model, it's just detecting insects. But the plan is to develop this further to detect different species or different, we'll see, definitely different insects. We haven't been particularly friendly to our insect camera traps. We've definitely put them to the test. The fact that some of them are installed at up to 95 meters above the ground means that they are exposed to quite extreme weather conditions. So very, very hot in summer, but incredibly cold in winter. And here are just some examples. We've got a picture on the left here where the entire wind site is covered in snow, but our camera traps are still working. And two images taken by the camera traps themselves during very cold winter conditions. So for some of them, this will actually be their second winter outside, but they're holding up just fine. Yeah, they've definitely proven themselves to be incredibly robust. And all in all, they're really great devices. They've given us great data to find significant patterns in insect activity in the different structures in the wind test site. And furthermore, they're also now being implemented in other research projects, but in a slightly different form. So I'd like to say a few words about our EcoPi system. All of our EcoPi devices are modular. They're all based on the same technical basis, but we can integrate and add different components and sensors to them as needed, just to answer different ecological questions. They all have a self-sufficient power supply and can transfer data via an internet connection that they have themselves. And here's just a collection of some pictures of EcoPi devices in the field. So the picture on the far left might look slightly familiar. You can see that's an insect camera trap. But here on the side, it's very hard to make out probably. There's also a microphone. So this is actually a bioacoustic recorder and insect camera trap all in one device. Here we have a normal bioacoustic recorder in a forest in Europe. We have another picture of a bioacoustic recorder in a rainforest, I think a tropical rainforest in Ecuador. And here the internet connection is via Starlink antenna. And at the bottom, we have like a playback system, which is used to attract common terns. We also have a microphone here to collect acoustic data. And this is sadly an old picture. The new devices actually also have cameras in them, so we can see the nesting successes of these birds. We also have a live dashboard, so where users can see the metadata on the recorders, how they're running, what they're recording, and access visual and audio data. And if anyone is interested and would like some more information on our devices and what we do, there's a QR code at the bottom of this page on the right-hand side, and also a link to our website. Thank you very much for your attention. Has anyone got any questions?
Thank you so much, Sarah. Let me just check through the chat if there has been any. There's been a couple of things that have come up. I had a question. So I wanted to know, so for the EcoPi, well, I was keen to know how much does one EcoPi unit cost, like the base kind of modular unit? And what's kind of next for, what's next in the development? It seems like it's already got so many great features, but yeah, what's in the pipeline?
In the pipeline, I think the next thing we'd like to build is like a weather monitor, because in a lot of projects, that's data that we can't collect ourselves yet, so we're reliant on other people and other devices. And because our devices are completely self-sufficient in terms of power and internet, it would be useful just to have like a mothership that can gather all of that important data. In terms of costs, we're actually not selling them, we're renting them for different monitoring and research projects. Yeah, and I'm not really involved in the costs, so I can't really say anything about that.
No worries.
Yeah,
it's a rude question anyway. We do have we've got a couple more questions in the chat. So Paul has asked, are those decoy terns? And then he said, what is it for?
They are decoy terns. So the idea in that project is there's some, I don't know what they're called in English. They're like structures on lakes, or at least close to water bodies. And the idea is, so that recorder is like playing playback of common terns. And the idea is to get them attracted to that place and to breed there. So it's a project together with the Vogelwarte. So it's like a Swiss bird protection conservation NGO, was it NGO? I'm not sure. And yes, they are decoy terns, and that also helps to get them to nest there. And we have had some successful nesting, I think, last year, close to Zurich, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think maybe if you're looking for the word for the structures, maybe we could call them pontoons or something. I don't know. But yeah.
It's something like that. Yeah, it's like a floating structure. Yeah.
One more question from Matthew. Are you doing your ML detection on device?
Not yet. That's in the pipeline. I have a lot more things on my to-do list. That's definitely the plan. On our other devices, BirdNet is running on them, so we have on-edge detection for birds, and I think also for some mammal and frog species. But for the insects, we're not quite so far in our development. Like obviously, BirdNet is already a very stable package that works, and the rest I've been building myself. So we're not quite there yet.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and Nancy is suggesting that we're looking for the word boy, or boy.
Boy, but it's like a big flat thing, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
we'll
might
see.
be we will accept that. Okay, thank you very much, Sarah.
Okay.
I will now share my screen if that's okay, because we have a fantastic ad break. Okay, so it's now time for our regular ad break where we share WildLabs team and community updates with everyone. And the first thing I wanted to share, which is extremely exciting, is that the registration for the International Conservation Technology Conference taking place in Peru next year is now officially open. The conference is taking place from the 18th to the 20th, and we would, of course, love to see all of you there. If you're interested in joining us, then you can head over to the website listed down there. And you can secure your tickets now. There are 300 tickets available at the moment and locked in at the current price, and they're available on a first come, first served basis. But of course, more tickets will be released later. And unfortunately, we're no longer accepting session and workshop submissions for the conference. But if you want to have a booth at the conference to showcase your organization and tech, then you can still apply for that. That's still open. I think the deadline is the 15th of December, so still plenty of time to get your booth locked in. And now for some quick community updates. Coming up on December the 1st, the Edge Computing Community Group will be hosting a session on AI for conservation on the Edge with Project Sparrow. And you can find out more about that through a link which will be posted in the chat. Thank you so much, Jake. Lastly, on the 11th of December, there will be an AI and geospatial speaker panel covering topics from AI agents to Earth observation and everything in between. And you can also find out more about that at the second link, which Jake has posted there. And as you know, we also have a space registration form, community announcements, but I don't think we received any this month. So if you want to announce something, I'll give you a few seconds now. So anyone who's keen to announce something, please unmute share. Or you can, of course, write in the chat. Okay. Frank is asking, is the lion yawning? Yes, that lion is either very tired or very angry. One of the two. Okay, but yes, please keep in mind for future events, if you have any announcements you want to make to the community, of course, all these sessions are recorded, so they'll also be posted on our YouTube and shared on our YouTube channel as well. You can do so through the registration link. But now, without further ado, we're going to move on to the famous quiz section of the ad break. And this month, I thought we would do something that fit in with the theme of one of our talks. We've come up with a hedgehog themed quiz. Yay! Andy, you are not allowed to participate. No, of course you are. The classic format for these quizzes is you're going to be given multiple different answers to choose from, and you just need to type in A, B, C, or D in the chat, whichever one you think is the right answer. Jake has also shared a hedgehog emoji in the chat. Thank you, Jake. Okay, so we will move on to question one. Please write your answers in the chat. So what would you call a group of hedgehogs? Is it A, a prickle, B, a quill, C, an array, or is it D, a nest? Okay, I'm seeing lots of A's in the chat. I'm seeing B's. I'm seeing a C from the person that knows a lot about hedgehogs. And I can confirm the answer is C, an array. And when I found out about this, I was really surprised because I thought for ages it was a prickle. And apparently there's contention online, but the BBC have said it's C, an array, and all the biologists have said it's an array. So there it is. And so is Andy. That must be right. Okay, hedgehog quills are best described as insulating fatty tubes. I hope to never say that again. Modified hairs made of keratin, spines made of calcium, or are they detachable barbed structures? How would you best describe a hedgehog's quill? Okay, we're getting B, 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 lots of Bs. No one's going for A, that's surprising. B, B, B. And that is absolutely right. Just like all other spines, I think, on mammals, they are, of course, modified hairs made of keratin, so that have just changed over time. Okay, C. What would you call a baby hedgehog? Is it A, a pup, B, a hoglet, C, a spikelet, or D, a kit? Okay, we've had C, B, D, C, A. Okay, finally got an A, got a D. Going to what Andy says. A. The answer is, I believe, B, a hoglet. which is just the most adorable name for a baby anything ever. So yes, isn't that sweet? The Hoglet. Okay, this is an interesting one. So what is self-anointing? So self-anointing is a behavior commonly observed in hedgehogs. What is it? Is it scent? Are they scent marking their territory? Is it a mating display they use? Are they bathing in mud to remove parasites? Or are they coating themselves in saliva? Okay, we're getting a lot of D's, a lot of D's. D, 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 D. Actually, I didn't know about this, but it seems like everyone else apparently has heard of this behavior because, of course, it is D. It is coating themselves with saliva. Andy, I don't know if you want to share why they do this. Is there a reason?
The reason is nobody really knows.
Excellent, thank you.
So they don't know whether it's they do it when they taste something of strong scent. But
Okay.
It could be food, or it could be plastic, or anything.
Interesting. So they coat themselves in saliva when they come across a strong scent. Okay, Andy, I think we know what research you should be doing next is finding out why. But thank you very much for sharing. Okay, and the final question. How do hedgehogs avoid overheating? Is it A, panting, B, sweating, C, spreading out onto cool surfaces, or D, flapping their ears? Sorry, a car alarm has just gone off outside. Someone's put B, C, D. Frank's gone for D, flapping their ears. C, B. Joshua says, oh, that is not, you're not allowed to answer that, although maybe it's true. B, C. Okay, the answer is spreading out onto cool surfaces, apparently, is the main way that they like to keep cool. And I have a photo down here on the left of a hedgehog displaying this exact behavior, which is known as spluting. Andrew's just put that in the chat, which is just magnificent. Look at that graceful creature. So thank you very much for participating in our hedgehog themed quiz. We'll have another quiz ready in January when we do the next variety hour. So that was the last quiz of the year. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for participating. And I think we're now ready to move into our final talk. So I'm just going to unshare. And Ștefan, please, if you could take us away with the final talk, that would be brilliant.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Ștefan Istrate. I'm an AI research engineer, and today I'll be presenting SpeciesNet, which is a model that we've built for detecting species in camera trap images. This is work that I've done as an independent contractor through my own company, but it's pretty much part of a larger collaboration with Google, Wildlife Insights, and several NGOs in the biodiversity monitoring space. I'm sure this audience is already familiar with camera traps, but being motion-triggered cameras, they come with their own challenges when deployed in the field. Motion sensors can be extremely noisy in some situations. In a typical deployment, that can lead to up to 80% of the images not containing any animal at all. In the end, every single camera can produce tens of thousands of images. And generally, these are perfect conditions to think about using AI to speed up your workflow if you're someone that has to look at many of these images in your day-to-day job. Camera traps can be used for both presence and absence data, and some researchers may want to see all the pictures of a particular species, while some other researchers may want to make sure that a particular species is not present at all, for example, invasive species. So there are different trade-offs that any AI model has to make so that it can serve everyone. Also, cameras can collect multiple images for each single trigger, and eventually the annotations can become noisy. For example, if the annotations come at sequence level, like a couple of images receiving the same label, that can be a very noisy signal as well. So we've built SpeciesNet, but SpeciesNet in our vocabulary is an ensemble of two actual models. We use the open source mega detector for detecting where in the image an animal, a person, or a vehicle is. And then we also train our own classifier to say which species it's in that bounding box. Species.NET works on camera trap images, but can be adapted for videos too. We open sourced the inference code earlier this year. It can recognize more than 2,000 different species globally, and also other animals at different taxonomic levels. So for example, we can say with less confidence that some things are birds and not know exactly what type of bird they are. We have carefully evaluated Species.NET on our own test sets, and we focused on precision. But in the end, we recommend everyone to never blindly trust the results from any AI model and run a test on your own data sets and see how well these type of models address your needs. As I said, this has been a collaborative effort over several years. Google provided the infrastructure, the resources, and the expertise to build the AI models. Wildlife Insights provided the data, and is the primary platform where we launched Species.NET. We published a peer-reviewed paper, and you can check it at that link in the presentation. We published the inference code on GitHub and the model weights on Kaggle. And if you have large data sets to process, Wildlife Insights is our recommendation where to try the model. You can request an account at that website. You can upload the data to the cloud, and Species.NET will run on your images before you can review them. And our main goal in our partnership with Wildlife Insights was to maximize our impact. So far on the platform, there's been about 280 million images uploaded and processed through some version of Species.NET over time, 90 million of them containing animals. Researchers have been studied more than 4,000 species in their work, and that's almost double of what Species.NET can actually detect at the moment. But for future trainings, we're considering expanding that to include even more species. Species.NET was implicitly used by 1,600 organizations and in more than 100 countries, and touching more than 1,500 protected areas with at least one camera deployment. But we realized that not all organizations can or want to upload their images to the cloud. For example, some may not have a reliable access to the cloud. Some may have privacy concerns, and that's why we open source the model, hopefully for even more impact. And Species.NET was already integrated in a couple of third-party tools, and feel free to pick your favorite if you are working with any of these. And if you know of any other integrations, we'd like to hear from you. We wanted to make it as easy as possible to run Species.NET on your own computer as well. If you are slightly familiar with Python, you can run the model on your CPU or GPU. All you need to do is prepare the input in our format. We basically just need your file paths. And optionally, you can also give us some location information for post-processing. And from the outputs, you can always use the prediction score. But if you are looking for the individual results from the two underlying models, you can also use the classifications and detections to look at them separately. We also offer different ways of running the model as well, like you can run on your entire folder and not have to prepare the input in this format specifically. By default, the classifier runs on the most confident bounding box coming from the detector. But we also have slightly undocumented ways to run the model on all bounding boxes, if that's something of interest to you. For example, researchers that have multiple species in the same image, they may want to run the model on more bounding boxes. And we provide a few more tricks here. We know that the community would also sometimes need to fine-tune the model, and we'll make some recommendations soon how to do that. We are aware that some people from the community already had success with that. And we want to make it easy for you to understand some of the biases that the model may have. So we release some stats on the data that we trained, validated, and tested our model on. We also released data on the label distribution, so you can understand if your species is well supported in our training. As I mentioned, what we call SpeciesNet is actually a combination of two models. Megadetector was used to detect where in the image an animal is, and the classifier is used to predict what species that is. And we combine the two model predictions in some complex ways, and I will talk a bit more about that in the future slides. So far, I've talked about one SpeciesNet classifier, but we actually trained and released two different models. We use the same recipe, but we train one model on the full size images and one model on the cropped images that are using the most confident bounding box from Megadetector. And we match the ground truth annotations, so the labels that we get from the scientists, to the most confident bounding box, which can be risky, can introduce some noises, but we have ways to deal with that. One interesting detail that we noticed our methods differ a bit from what others in the community have tried is that we also crop to a bounding box if, for example, the annotation says there's no animal. So essentially, we make the classifier recognize blank bounding boxes as well. But if you feel that the full size classifier works better for you, through the same code, you can run it on your own data. In practice, the picture is a bit more complicated. The classifier is not trained on the original images directly, but we apply some fairly heavy augmentations first. And here you can see some of those augmentations. They can distort the images quite a lot. And the AI models actually benefit from seeing more diversity, and they use this sort of trick to become more robust to data variation. We have, as I said, a fairly complex logic in place for combining the predictions coming from the two models. Just a bit of context, the labels have been derived from the hierarchical taxonomy. So we have a class, an order, a family, a genus, a species for each animal. And we are generally looking for an agreement or a disagreement between the two models, the detector and the classifier. We prefer to treat lower confidence results as unknown. And we're just inviting the user to take a closer look at some of those images. So our focus is generally for precision on blanks on or species. And it's much better in our experience to have the user trust those high confidence results and look at a bit more images for review rather than just give them one single accuracy number that may or may not work in their use case. We do some other tricks as well. For example, we have a roll-up process that we introduced. So for example, if you predict that in an image you have a lion with 0.5 confidence and a leopard with 0.3 confidence, that's not enough to say for sure what it is. But if you combine those in their common ancestor, you know that it's an animal from the Panthera genus with 0.8 confidence. We also geofence the results when we have location information available. So if you get a lion prediction in the US, by default, we roll up to the first genus or family or order that we know it's actually present in that country. This was the most technical part of my presentation. Generally, I guess building good classifiers is hard. And the difference between building an okay classifier and a good one maybe just to pay close attention to the data that we have. And just try to remove the noise as much as you can, given, I guess, the limited amount of time you want to invest into this. So here are some ideas that we had to come up with because we decided to never blindly trust our initial annotations. So, for example, if you ever decide to build your own classifier, it's good to know that some labels are not relevant for your problem. In this case, for example, we have fire or snow conditions that were not relevant for the detection that we wanted to have. So in our case, we removed those. You could very well decide to rewrite those labels as just being blanks. There's no animal present. There are also situations where, for example, in the same data set, the same label was used for different species. So all of these were labeled animal, but we didn't want to make the classifier's job too hard in training. So again, like we decided to remove some of these images. And also for evaluation, that's important because you don't want to give it a bad score for predicting at species level, for example. It's clearly in all of these images what the animal actually is. There may be issues coming from the pre-processing across different stages in your pipeline. We had this issue, for example, with zebras that didn't have the exact species and ended up with the family level label. And again, it was an easy fix because it was consistent across the entire data set. You may have multiple labels per image, and that can be confusing to a classifier. For example, this was invalidating our assumption that the same level applies to all bounding boxes. So again, we decided to remove some of this data. In a visual sense, this type of images where animal carcasses were used as bait contain an animal, but the label said otherwise. All of these were labeled as blanks. And again, this would confuse any classifier that you train. Since this was happening only in some individual projects, again, we decided to remove some of these. Decoys have a similar problem. The label said these are blanks, which was not true. We removed them as well. Some people blurred images prior to uploading to Wildlife Insights. Again, this was introducing noise. It was easy to detect. And again, we did some cleanup. And then I guess you are free to use any other existing model to clean up your data. For example, we used megadetector in pre-processing as well to find inconsistencies between what the label says and what megadetector was finding that's not matching the label. So here the label was saying there's an animal, but megadetector detected humans or vehicles. Easy to clean, but it takes a bit of practice to decide to implement an workflow that's going to clean some of these things. Again, here, megadetector didn't find anything. The label said there's an animal. Or the megadetector detected an animal, but the label said it's a human. So you can apply all these sorts of tricks to clean up your data. And there's always a possibility that you're going to bias the data in some way or another. You also have the option to always evaluate on the original data set as well. In our paper and in our evaluations, cleaning everything with some of these heuristics actually helped a lot. So more ideas that you can try to fix, but I think you get a sense that paying close attention to your data actually helps in practice to build a better classifier and better models in general. Here are my details if you want to get in touch. And we can't wait to hear what you use SpeciesNet for.
Thank you so much, Stefan. That was really, really interesting. And yeah, thank you for sharing. There's a couple of questions in the chat, and I just wanted to direct you over to that. So Kim asks, Kim, would you like to unmute and ask your question live?
Yeah, sure. Hang on a minute. Yes, actually, I think I probably came to the same answer already. Discovering it was EfficientNet version 2 as the classifier, I would expect that to be fully documented on how to train classifiers. Essentially, training of a classifier from Google's EfficientNet interests me as well. Yeah, so I might try that at some stage. Is that correct, by the way? How to train
sorry.
is, yeah, sorry.
So the train was done on Google infrastructure. We didn't open source that because it doesn't make sense for a community to reproduce the same workflow. But the same, like if you study the paper, the same models are available publicly. You just have to prepare the data and train your own classifier in that sense. I think one useful framework that people try is TIM, the PyTorch image models, and has an EfficientNet version there as well. It's a very hard problem because in general, very few people would have access to so much data as it's already in Wildlife Insights.
Yeah.
We eventually are going to say it's much better to fine tune on your own data.
Yeah, I'm not actually looking to reproduce what you guys are doing. I was more thinking in terms of training a classifier on thermal images, and I don't expect you to have a lot of thermal images in your data training. So in that respect, there's new work I expect.
Yeah, like I think everyone has a preference in the end of like what they want to try.
Right.
It's more that if you want to quickly get up to speed and run something, then we put a full solution together.
Someone suggests, oh, sorry to interrupt. So someone did suggest that you could potentially fine tune by adding thermal images to a visual image trained model. A, do you think that's a good idea? And B, is the model that you've produced released in a manner that it can allow you to take it as a base and then further fine tune it?
That's what I mentioned about fine tuning.
Okay.
Like we will recommend people to do some sort of that. Basically, you're taking the model, you're just removing the final layer or a few layers at the end, and you're benefiting from all the knowledge that was ingested or learned inside the middle layers from seeing so much camera trap data. But then you want to put a new layer that you can train on your domain, for example, thermal images. So yes, and that's been used in other types of signals as well, in bioacoustics, in everywhere else where people have their own distribution of data or like different modalities, and they still want to benefit from a model that's been trained on a much larger corpus. So yes.
Okay, so you actually add a new layer to the model then to do that, do you?
You remove, let's say, the final layer of the model, and you add your own layer that you're gonna train, and you keep everything else inside the model fixed. You're not gonna change that because it's been trained on a much more diverse data set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Fantastic. I think we've got a couple more minutes, and I see there's another question from Riley in the chat. Riley, would you like to? No pressure. Oh, I don't know if I think your mic might not be working, but it sounds like you're saying, please, no, I don't want to. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions for Stefan before we close off the main part of the call? Yes, that was going to be my prompt. Stefan is just to post links. Thank you so much for sharing your slides as well. Yeah, for those of you that haven't seen, Stefan's just posted a link to his slides, to his LinkedIn, and also in an email address as well. So thank you very much. And we've got another question from Dorothy. How do you handle seasonal changes and camouflage?
I'm assuming seasonal changes in terms of the animal changing their appearance. the more diverse data you show to the classifier, the better it's going to become. We didn't specifically evaluate on different seasons, but we do have a lot of data for animals that change so we hope that's captured, but that's how you handle it generally. And camouflage, the augmentations, basically the variation in images that you introduce artificially, can help with that. And also just showing the model in training images from sequences where, for example, the animal moves, and sometimes you see the whole animal, sometimes you see vegetation. That helps the model to learn to be better at camouflage.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we've now hit the hour, so I think this makes the end of our the main part of the call. Thank you so much, Ștefan, Andy, Laura, Sarah, for your fantastic talks. It was great to see all the engagement. And yeah, just thank you so much for joining and sharing your resources in the chat. Please, everyone, take notes of the various emails and links that have been placed in the chat, and you can save them. But that's it. Thank you so much for joining our November Variety Hour. This is unfortunately the last one we're doing this year, but we will be back up and running again in January 2026. So see you again in the new year. Thank you very much, everyone.